There are moments in life when everything seems to disappear at once. Naomi had lost her husband. Then she lost her two sons. Her future seemed empty, uncertain, and filled with grief. She decided to leave Moab and return to Bethlehem, the land she had once called home. But as Naomi began the journey, one young woman refused to let her walk alone. Her name was Ruth. Ruth had every reason to turn back. She could have returned to her people, her family, and everything familiar. Instead, she made a decision that would change her life forever. How could one woman's faithfulness transform a broken family and place her in the lineage of a king? Ruth 1:1-5. In the days when the judges ruled Israel, a famine struck the land of Bethlehem. Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their two sons left Bethlehem and traveled to Moab, hoping to find food and a new beginning. There, the sons married Moabite women named Ruth and Orpah. But tragedy followed the family. Elimelech died. Later, Naomi's two sons also died. Now Naomi was left without her husband and without her sons. The future she had imagined was gone. When Naomi heard that the Lord had provided food for his people in Bethlehem, she decided to return home. Ruth and Orpah began the journey with her, but Naomi stopped and urged them to return to their families. She knew the road ahead would not be easy. She told them to go back and rebuild their lives. Orpah eventually said goodbye, but Ruth would not leave. Ruth 1:1-14. Ruth stood before Naomi and made a decision that revealed the depth of her love and commitment. She would not abandon the woman who had become her family. Ruth declared that wherever Naomi went, she would go. Where Naomi lived, she would live. Naomi's people would become her people, and Naomi's God would become her God. This was more than a promise. It was an act of courage, sacrifice, and faith. Ruth was leaving behind her homeland and stepping into an uncertain future. She did not know what awaited her in Bethlehem. She did not know how they would survive. She only knew that she would not walk away from Naomi. So the two women continued their journey together, and when they finally arrived in Bethlehem, the city took notice. Naomi had returned, but she returned carrying a heart full of sorrow. It was the beginning of the barley harvest. Ruth knew that she and Naomi needed food, so she went into the fields to gather grain left behind by the harvesters. She worked humbly and faithfully, and providence led her to a field belonging to a man named Boaz. Boaz was a wealthy and respected relative of Naomi's late husband, Elimelech. When Boaz saw Ruth, he asked about her. His workers told him about the Moabite woman who had left her homeland to care for Naomi. Boaz had heard of Ruth's kindness. He knew that she had sacrificed much to remain with Naomi. So Boaz told Ruth not to go to another field. He instructed his workers to leave her alone and to treat her with respect. He even gave her permission to drink from the water they had drawn. Ruth was surprised by such kindness. She asked why Boaz would show favor to a foreign woman like her. Boaz answered that he had heard about everything she had done for Naomi. Then he blessed her, saying that she had come to take refuge under the wings of the Lord. For Ruth, this field was more than a place to gather grain. It was the beginning of a new chapter. When Ruth returned home carrying an abundance of grain, Naomi immediately noticed something had changed. When Ruth told her that the field belonged to Boaz, Naomi recognized the significance. Boaz was not merely a kind man, he was a close relative of their family. Naomi saw a possibility of redemption. She carefully instructed Ruth on what to do, according to the customs of their people. That night, Ruth approached Boaz and respectfully asked him to act as a family redeemer. Boaz was deeply moved by Ruth's character and loyalty, but there was one problem. Another relative was closer to Naomi's family than Boaz. Boaz could not simply ignore that man's legal claim. Instead, Boaz promised to settle the matter properly. He would not take shortcuts. He would do what was right. And before the night ended, Ruth returned to Naomi carrying a promise. The answer would soon be known. The next morning, Boaz went to the city gate, the place where important matters were settled. He called the closer relative and gathered the elders of Bethlehem as witnesses. Boaz explained the situation. The closer relative initially agreed to redeem the family property, but when he learned that the redemption also involved taking Ruth as his wife to preserve the family name, he declined. The responsibility was now open to Boaz, and Boaz accepted it. Before the elders and the people, Boaz declared his intention to redeem the family property and take Ruth as his wife. The elders blessed them. What began with famine, loss, and uncertainty was now becoming a story of restoration. Ruth, once a grieving widow and foreigner, was about to receive a new home and a new future. And Boaz, through his integrity and kindness, became the man through whom redemption came. Boaz took Ruth as his wife, and the Lord blessed them with a son. His name was Obed. The women of Bethlehem celebrated with Naomi, the woman who had once said, "I went away full, and the Lord has brought me back empty," was now holding a child in her arms. Her sorrow had not been forgotten, but her story was no longer defined by sorrow. God had brought new hope into her life. Ruth, the Moabite woman, who had once arrived in Bethlehem as a stranger, had become part of the family of Israel. And her son Obed would become the father of Jesse. Jesse would become the father of David, the future king of Israel. What Ruth could not see when she made the faithful decision to stay with Naomi was that God was weaving her life into something much greater. Ruth 4:13-17. The story of Ruth is a story of faithfulness in the middle of uncertainty. It is a story of a woman who chose loyalty when walking away would have been easier. It is a story of Naomi, whose season of grief was not the end of her story. It is a story of Boaz, whose kindness, integrity, and willingness to redeem brought hope where there had once been loss. And above all, it is a story of God's providence. Ruth thought she was simply choosing to stay with Naomi, but God was guiding her into a story far greater than she could ever imagine. Her faithfulness became part of a family line that would lead to King David and ultimately to Jesus Christ. So when your own journey seems uncertain, remember Ruth. You may not see what God is doing today, but His purpose can be unfolding even in the quietest and most difficult seasons. Sometimes what looks like the end of your story is only the beginning of God's redemption. Ruth 4:17-22, Matthew 1:5-6. If this story of Ruth has encouraged your faith, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel for more powerful Christian Bible stories, inspirational messages, and faith-building content. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that God is still working, even when we cannot see the whole picture. Until the next story, remember, stay faithful, keep trusting God, and never forget that your story is still being written. God bless you, and thank you for watching.